All right, well, I guess we should go ahead and get started. I think we have comparatively a lot on the agenda today. All right, so I will call us to order and ask, has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from December, and are there any changes we need to make?
Oh, it looked good to me.
I had a question on something. Oh, yeah, under page 2 at the bottom, third to last line, it says that I noted that the building code needs to align with the county code. I'm not sure what that means. I mean, if I would have said that, I would disagree with myself now because the county has its codes and the muni gets to have its codes. And we have our own inspectors, so we are less tied to following the county code lockstep than municipalities that depend on the county staff to provide code enforcement. Man, it's maybe a small point, but like.
So what should
We typically choose to be with the.
Right, I was gonna say, I
county
think
codes.
that's how it's been described.
You could just strike it if it's not accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't, yeah, I mean, there might be reasons to do that, but this says that we need to align with the county code. And
Or just
I wouldn't have.
Right, either way.
I'm sorry, I'm just still trying to find it. You said on the second page.
Page 2, third to last line. This is the minutes from December 16.
Page 2, last line is
Oh, you
different.
have a different page break than I do.
I did.
Okay, so you're
Second
actually,
bullet point under item 6.
let's see. Yeah, it's under this graph, this, but,
Oh,
it says
no.
we'll need to align with.
Okay. Thank you.
Right, that's it. I will make a motion to approve. I hear a second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
I,
So we're striking it or it's fine the way it is? I'm sorry.
I would like to have it struck to something, because
I think
I wouldn't say, I mean, I would disagree with that, John. And maybe I was like temporarily off my rocker, but I wouldn't say.
You can just strike it
No.
after that comma and just, that'll take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
Next item is visitor comments.
Yeah,
We had a visitor.
really quick. I was looking last night at the work that's been done on the comprehensive plan so far, and they really kind of combined walkability and bikeability kind of as, you know, a key thing that the city should be looking at in the future, not only from a sustainability standpoint, but from a health fitness well-being standpoint. So from that standpoint, Webster on Wheels, we are moving it to Saturday, May the 3rd. Yeah, Saturday, May the 3rd. We've always been on Sunday afternoon since 2009, but because of scheduling in Bristol Day at the ballpark is on May the 4th. So we're going to move it for the first time ever on Saturday, which will maybe present some problems for us only because there's just to be more car traffic on Saturday than on Sunday afternoon. And so, you know, we have to But anyway, we would love you all to be partners with us on WOW again this year. We have two walkable events. The first one is the third annual Community Dog Walk, which is be Saturday, May the 31st, starting at Old Orchard Gazebo Park. But it's a real simple, fun event. It lasts about an hour and a half. And it's a little event, but it is a walkable event. And then the big one is Porch Fest. Our 6th annual Porch Fest will be Sunday afternoon, October the 5th. And we've picked the neighborhood. We move it every year. It'll be in the historic Old Orchard neighborhood this coming year, which is across from the Old Orchard Business District. Really excited about that. Great old historic homes and wonderful front porches. It'll be a really nice place. But that's a walkable event. And so, I'm just putting those out there. If you all want to be partners with us like you have been with Webstrom Kids. So it's
Right. Yeah, I think we've had a good partnership on Webster on Wheels, and it's really helped us promote. I know when we first did it, the new bike lanes on Lockwood had just opened, so that was kind of a good way to get word out. I don't know if I guess Paul's not with us today. He's traditionally been the one I know
he's kind of
that's
been
worked with you.
point.
So I'll reach out to him
Okay.
and then we can decide. I think if we decide by February, that gives us plenty of time to.
Sure. The other thing, just so you know, is that May evidently is National Bike Month. And for the first time ever, the district is looking to do a bike to school day on either Thursday, May the 1st or Friday, May the 2nd. So it'll be right before Webstrom Wheels, which would be a good timing. And then the last thing is that Jason Adams, who's the Assistant Superintendent of Learning School District, they've added on some additional courses. And I think, Sean, you probably are aware of these, but I think they added a second sustainability class at Hickson. And then they also, for the first time, have a sustainability class at the high school. They're calling it environmental development. I don't know why they aren't calling it sustainability, but Jason said it will be their first sustainability class. So just so you all know that as well.
Okay.
We're going to start to push that more in this year.
Well, I know from my 7th grader that sustainability is a very popular course at Hickson, which made kind of
very
warm my
good.
heart. And so my 7th grader next year is taking sustainability, and I was just.
Yeah, it's a great class. It's a really good class. Yeah. And Eric Hayes.
Great. Well, thank you
All
for
right,
the
thank you.
updates.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
Dave. Sorry.
Saturday, May the 3rd in the afternoon.
Right, we have another.
Another guest.
Hi, welcome. Hi.
Hi.
Oh yeah, I apologize for being late. I dropped my sister off at rowing practice.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, should I introduce?
It'd be great if you don't mind.
Okay, well, okay, so my name is Ellen McGuire. I am a senior at Webster Groves High School. And sustainability has just been like a lifelong passion of mine, I guess. I just want to gain like a deeper understanding of it. And also I hope to apply it like at some point in my career, just like as an adult. So yeah.
Wonderful,
Great.
Ellie,
Thank
thank
you
you for
for
joining
joining
us.
us.
Yeah,
We're
of
happy you're
course.
here.
Can I add one thing, Jeff?
Sure.
I want to second Dave's idea on this Porch Fest. I think in terms of a low carbon event that gets people actually on the street. I go every year, there's hundreds of people walking from porch to porch. Nothing like it in over the course of the year. So I think as we have that conversation.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, Pamela's looking better and Pam's been there pretty much every year. But yeah, but this year, it was, to John's point, we actually had less performers, 18, but they were really spread out. And so this was a real walkable event. I mean, you had to walk quite a ways this year, but it was a beautiful day and it was outside exercise. And so it all worked.
Great. Sean?
Okay,
Report.
yes. All right, several things to update you all on. First is, all the boards and commissions, pardon me, are getting an update on our Webster Grove Safe Streets initiative. You guys probably know a little bit more than most just because, I'm your liaison and I'm also, that's the other half of my job. But just to give you the official update that everyone is getting, we are in the final phases of selecting consultants for conducting the environmental review and creating the safety action plan. And sorry, just to back up, the Webster Grove Safe Streets Initiative is the project behind the federal grant we received from the Department of Transportation last year called Safe Streets and Roads for All. It's the Department of Transportation's it's part of their long-term plan to prevent roadway deaths and serious injuries. And so we received funding from the feds, and part of that, the point of this is to create a safety action plan for the community. And so the funding we received so far from the feds is planning. It's a planning grant. And so this helps us create our safety action plan. And with that plan in place, then the city can go ahead and apply for implementation grant funding. And so that funding would actually put everything that we outline in our safety action plan out, that would make it permanent. So some of the things that we're looking at are variable speed limits, putting in speed humps in certain parts of the community, looking at our pedestrian crosswalks, the lighting at those crosswalks, looking at possibly a multi-use path to connect North Webster to this part of the community. So those are various demonstration projects that we will be piloting probably next year, to be honest. Before we can do any of those demonstration projects, we have to conduct an environmental review. To do the environmental review, we need a consultant. So we're in the final phases of selecting the consultant for the environmental review, as well as the consultants who will end up creating our safety action plan. So that's where we are with the consultants. We also have a task force that has been meeting monthly since September. Paul is on the task force. He represents the Sustainability Commission. We also have representatives from the Traffic Advisory Commission, the Police Community Engagement Board, the Business Development Commission, the Webster Grove School District, Webster University, and the Webster Shrewsbury Rock Hill Area Chamber of Commerce, as well as just 2 other residents who sit on the task force that are not affiliated with any other groups. These meetings, just so you know, are open to the public. They're in council chambers on the 4th Thursday of the month at 9:30. So everyone's welcome, and they're put on the city's YouTube channel as well. We have a survey, and this little, pardon the rough cut job, but we have a community engagement survey just to assess residents' perspectives on safety in general. Again, roadway safety. And so the survey went live at the end of November. You may have seen signs, yard signs that have been moving around. The first week we put them up on the route of the Turkey Day marathon. And then we moved them and put them around the Santa's on the Loose run. And then right before Christmas, I placed them around the business districts to capitalize on shopping foot traffic. And then just about a week ago, I moved them over to the southeast quadrant of Webster because that quadrant we've had very few responses come in from. So I'll continue to move them around the next couple of weeks, but if you see yard signs around the community, that's what that's referring to. And I'd love it if you all take the survey as well. That would be wonderful. And then, yeah, we've got also a dedicated inbox. It's wgsafestreets@webstergrovesmo.gov. The website is now live. There's more information on the website. So yes, that's just a little update on Webster Grove Safe Streets Initiative. Happy to take any questions if there are any. But then also I want to update you guys on, yeah.
Are you requesting questions?
Shoot, yes.
Is this the right thing? Okay.
This is, yeah.
Didn't somebody just get killed walking across the street in Manchester?
I saw that.
But that's not, that's
That, I think
Not
that
in
was,
Webster, but that's,
I think that might have
Not
been
that far.
Glendale. It was Sappington, I want to say, in Manchester.
Yeah.
okay, I thought I'd read that and I thought it was close to Webster, but not in Webster.
Yeah,
I
that's
thought
close
that-
to Webster.
It's, cause I don't, do you have data like how many people get killed, because of traffic in this area?
So I want to say there's been one fatality in Webster in the past 10 years. We actually don't have, in terms of fatalities and serious injuries, our statistics are not very high, to tell you the truth. However, in our grant application, we wrote in a lot of desire for equity and to connect certain, like North Webster to this part of the community, and just to make sure there is equitable access and sustainable pathways. And so that, I think, so that's also a large part of our process, is to ensure that our marginalized communities are connected. In terms of fatalities, we're actually we are not high on that list. I think it's just one that was about 5 years ago. And it was near Big Bend and Lake Station Run.
I know not too many years ago, there was a child that was hit by Margaret Park that went to Avery. It's pretty serious injuries. So it's, all it takes is, one is too many, or one serious injury. So
Absolutely.
There was also there was a middle schooler who was struck at Glendale and Big Bend about 2 years ago on a bicycle. So you're right, Sean, I think, from what I've picked up in the meetings, we haven't had fatalities. So in one sense, it's sort of like, as you think about safe streets, like, well, how can we get any safer if we haven't had those issues? But I think that so far from what I've seen, this is a thoughtful approach to this, because that doesn't tell the whole story. And I think what I've heard from, from really almost every participant is a concern around schools in particular. Which, I've had high school kids go through the high school. They're probably maybe some of the worst offenders in terms of safety within the city. But I think people are thinking about it and trying to come up with solutions. I'm encouraged.
Yeah, I mean, there will only be likely more vehicles and congestion on the roads. And so this is part of the city's efforts to address this in a long-term planning perspective.
One thing to put in there is vehicles are getting heavier, so people are dying. You're more likely to die if you get hit by a vehicle today than 20 years ago, because the average weight of the vehicle is so much more, because you got
Yeah.
big trucks,
electric vehicles are very hit by that, very dangerous. So that's kind of EVs.
Thank you. Okay. Also, Christmas lights recycling is still happening. We have those bins out until January 20th. They're at Southwest Park and at the Public Works Building, and both are full. So it's going well. But we still have about one more week left. The Ripple glass container was just emptied after Christmas, and we recovered 6.34 tons of glass. And also, so that's basically the capacity of the bin, but we reached capacity 2 months sooner than we did last time. So we're getting better. We're filling that bin faster. And this is only the second time. So, but we've got a benchmark now. So it's good. Okay, the composting grant, in case, not sure if this news wouldn't have been shared last month because it was not yet. There were over 100 proposals to the USDA composting grant that we applied for, just over 100 proposals, and they were able to fund 26% of the proposals. We ranked number 30 and in the high priority section, but unfortunately we just missed the cutoff. So we unfortunately did not get the grant we were hoping for, that Karen and Anna and myself and our partners worked very hard on. They really liked the training that we wrote in on food preservation and waste reduction. And of course, the avenues for composting that we wrote in. They suggested that our proposal could be stronger if the class sizes for these educational events were larger. And also they thought our contract with New Earth Farms, who was the composter that we had planned on working with, they thought our contract might be a tad light, like, you know, and what we put in the proposal is what New Earth Farms bid us, but they suggested we go back and make sure that, you know, that would be adequate for New Earth Farms. So anyway, they gave us some suggestions. I don't know if this will become available again this coming year, but so we should continue to think about composting. This is the gist of that. Also for Green Dining Alliance, there's just a quick update. We're still at our 5 members, which are Made Hop, Bijou Chocolates, Beignet All Day, Olive and Oak, and Big Sky. We need 3 more to get to district status. I am feeling optimistic. I don't want to say which restaurants, but I am in talks with 2 different groups. And I just don't want to put them on the spot in case it doesn't work out for them. So I'm not gonna mention who that is publicly. But if there are any other, if you all have any connections to food service establishments in the community, now is a great time to help me knock on their door or to put a word out there about the program. This was a fiscal year 25 program that the fiscal year ends June 30th. So at this point, the program is not, you know, intended to move into next fiscal year. So we certainly want to try and get our district status before June 30th. So if there's any restaurants that you all, or food service establishments that you guys are connected to, please don't hesitate to reach out or to put me in contact with them. That would be wonderfully appreciated. Okay, and then OOPS tags. If you guys remember the OOPS tag recycling audit program we talked about a couple months ago, I did talk to the county. St. Louis County is who runs that program. They are still offering that program. Now this is to address recycling contamination. And so what it is it's volunteers on the ground who go out on collection day and do a quick peek into the recycling carts that are out on the curb to check for contamination. And if it looks, you know, quickly, if it's easy to tell that there's contamination there, we put an OOPS tag sticker on the bin. This program has been done in parts of North County, and they had data from their haulers that they did have some contamination problems. They were facing a lot of challenges up there. And so this program through St. Louis County was really helpful at reducing their contamination rates. Now, here in Webster, I haven't received any data from Republic or from Waste Management that we have high contamination. But that aside, this is still an educational opportunity to teach residents about contamination and what should and should not go into your bins. Just a few more, and I know we have got a lot on the agenda today, so I'm trying to speak quickly, but we would need boots on the ground. St. Louis County could give us 2 employees that would help. We would need to determine which routes in Webster Groves, routes from Waste Management on the days that they collect, but which routes we want to target. You know, I think trying to do all of Webster Groves would be challenging. So likely we would just target, you know, a few different neighborhoods. And then we would walk those areas from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. because we got to beat the trash trucks to do a quick audit of the bins. And then about a month later or a few weeks later, we'll go back to those same routes and do another quick audit to see if there's been improvement. And so the county supplies us with an app to actually be able to catalog which houses have been checked, which ones had contaminations, which ones show improvement, to really be able to provide the hard data for us. And then also we could apply for a grant through the county, and the county is very encouraging that we would be able to get 100% of the costs for this program funded from them. So it's an option that we can explore further if you guys are interested in. We would need to submit the grant in March. You know, no hard deadline, but likely around March or April. And then we would conduct the audit in June or July. We can go more in depth on that later, or I can take more questions. This was just my first intro meeting with the county on this topic, but it is still available. So,
And you're aware that the Webster's is split into 5 parts, so each day, Monday through Friday, there's trash pickup in some part of Webster.
yes.
I didn't
Wait.
realize that till I was like scoping this out, and I thought, wait, does everybody have Monday? I got Monday.
No, yeah. There's trash trucks in different parts of the city every day, yeah.
And I think one thing.
I didn't know if it was all 5 days. Is it all 5 days?
Yeah, there's five turfs, so Monday through Friday, there's trucks running. One thing to think about too is whether there's a hook with the sustainability classes, because you could walk out of the door at Webster High and you're right in the neighborhood. You can start looking, and if you cross 6 and if you cross going south, you got a whole big neighborhood that's easy to go door to door.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So in terms of the grant, the decision point for us would be when will we need to make a decision?
Probably next month.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think kind of, not to leap ahead, but I think thinking about the annual report to council next month, that'll be the main focus of that meeting, and making some decisions and something we can present them. So is this a matter of just commission bandwidth, or do we need people that are willing to make time to?
If we had commission members who we need a couple boots on the ground. And so I think we need like a minimum of 4 people. Now the county can supply us 2, and I'm a 3rd. So, and I might be a touch optimistic when I say we only need 4 people, because we haven't decided which areas of the community we want to target, or how much of it, or what routes they're on. So, I mean, I would say 4 at a minimum. Some other munis in the county have done this, and they had to hire temp staff for this, temp labor. I'm hoping we wouldn't need to do that, but I guess that's what the grant funding could help cover. They did say if we were going to go that route, we should factor in $18 an hour for temp labor. So if we can come up with a few volunteers for 6 to 10 a.m., maybe like 4 days. I mean, it all depends on how much of the community we want to target, but I don't really think we would need temporary labor if there's just even 1 or 2 members from the commission that would be interested. And this is all coming back on from the recycling tour we did at Republic, and we were talking about, there's momentum with recycling, and Webster Kirkwood Times article came out. And so we had talked about this program a couple months ago, and I said I would look back into it. I know it was available last year, and yes, the county is willing to do it still. So
Why don't we leave it at this for today? Just anyone who's interested, shoot Sean and I a note and just say I'd be interested in volunteering myself for it, and then we can at the next meeting see who we have and how we want to proceed. That works.
yeah, that sounds good. Absolutely. And after the conversation, more planning for, this year and the plan for next year. If this is, this doesn't have to be, this is something I said I would look into. If, you guys aren't interested, then that's okay. It's just another recycling education engagement opportunity.
Right.
Ask one more question.
Yeah.
Sure. When would it happen? When would this happen? Like,
June or July, likely.
I was hoping you'd say summer because that would just be a bit nicer
Yeah.
and easier to get students or something.
Yes, yeah. Yes, when the light is longest is what they recommend, since we have to start like at 6 a.m. to beat the trash trucks.
But Webster High wouldn't be in session. Or Hickson, or
True.
Nearings, or what have you. Okay,
All right, Council Member Bliss.
Yes, let's see, updates. Last Tuesday, we heard, the presentation by the city and by, Children's Hospital and KBC on the proposed, mental health services building at Gore and Rock Hill. We had the first and second reading, so, there will be a little more discussions coming Tuesday in the third reading. There will probably be a vote on that one. And then also, you've heard the words annual report. Last year, all the commission chairs and others presented at Webster University, everything that their commission was doing. It was great to have everything there all at once for council members and anyone else interested to kind of hear what everybody's doing. And I think it could probably spark some partnerships and other ideas just to hear from each other. And so to prepare for that, we have a format, a structure for putting together the next annual report, which will be a little bit more extensive in that it requires looking at the budget closely and getting that on paper and coming up with a work plan for fiscal year 26. So that's this sheet that's on the middle of the table. We have, this commission has this meeting until the March meeting to prepare that. And we want to have these all in from the commissions in March so that we can start looking at the budget more closely and start putting it in there. So you've got roughly 8 weeks to work on.
Feels like slightly earlier than it was last year for some reason.
It is, and I think it's because of the budget aspect of it. You know, before it was just like a report on your activities and
Right.
goals, and so this is activities and goals plus funding. As you know, your projects, the projects that we have for you are all left from the American Rescue Plan, where we've been kind of chipping away at some of those dollars to help residents take bigger actions for sustainability in their own homes. And so that would be something the council will be to determine, do they want to take that money and have you continue using it for those purposes? So this is why it's kind of critical. We've talked about the Climate Resilience Fund, and that is, we've got a lot of money for that as well. And that's something council is working on, is figuring out how that would work. So when the time comes for that, it would be great if you all can weigh in on that.
Mhm.
So,
And Mayor Arnold said it would be fine for commissions to create subcommittees to work on
Right.
this. Is that right?
yeah, so if you all want to, it is a lot for you to try to do in a meeting. So if you would like to form a subcommittee meeting, that would be awesome. And then I would like to join you for those as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I was kind of reading my mind on the subcommittee for this, because I think that's
Good. yeah.
a way of having some more, some deeper discussions. All right.
But there's gonna be more than 3 of you, then we need to
Right.
post it that you're gonna be meeting.
All right. Okay, under old business, the first item is the greenhouse gas reduction strategies, which just for a quick reminder, the greenhouse gas benchmarking that we did last year, we formed a subcommittee to start to look at ways to take where we are now and reduce our emissions, look for strategies that we can use to make progress on our greenhouse gas emissions And we had a subcommittee of Karen and John and myself and Sean, part of those meetings, and we met, I think, twice since the last full commission meeting, and we came up with sort of a handful of things that we'd like to, and so the way I view this is the greenhouse gas reduction strategies would be sort of one subset of the plan that we take to council. If we want to do something on the OOPS tag, the recycling audit, or something on composting or whatever else we want to do, that might be in addition to this, but this would be strictly related to greenhouse gas reduction and trying to hit some of the areas where we could be A, more effective, and B, things that wouldn't be huge asks, just ways to get going on things. So the things we talked about fall in two sort of broad buckets. One is more policy things that we would just make recommendations to the council for steps they could take. And the other one is more outreach related, like events, like eco ed or other outreach events, education events we want to do on our own. And I'll go through, we tried to pare down from a sort of a longer list. We started with things we could perhaps digest in so the fiscal year begins July 1, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. One is to continue to advocate for solar on the rec center. And my understanding is that's sort of in the plans, but there's not a commitment yet to go through with that project. So that's something we've talked about for a while here, and I'd like to continue to recommend that gets done out of, I know it was part of the Prop W campaign, but that's something that, over the long haul, in my opinion, is going to save money for the city, not only be sustainable, but make economic sense. And if it comes down to it, I'd like to look at, and this is why I was asking you, Sean, for how much of a premium the city is paying for electricity under Ameren's Pure Power, and in the future, how much we're going to pay as a premium on our electricity bill to buy solar from Ameren through its community solar projects, because I think it's worth asking, should the city, if it comes down to money, put that toward putting solar, owning our own solar as a city that's going to have a 25, 30-year life and save money in the long run versus just paying money out the door to the utility. The other is, and I don't know, Karen, if you've come across any more data on the feasibility or cost of an energy audit.
I have calls out, but I don't have responses yet.
But that item was, recommending the city to do some sort of a deeper energy audit of city-owned buildings to look if there's a way to save money, things especially that have a quick payback and can reduce emissions. The third item is we have the solar rebates that council authorized about 1.5 years ago. And I think my understanding from our last meeting is like 75% or $15,000 of the original 20 is still outstanding. And we are looking at potentially expanding that to an additional rebate for residents who install EV chargers in their home. And one thing we discussed was what an amount, and should it be $100, $200, and that's just going to be up to this commission of what we want to recommend. I had initially thrown out $100, but if the question was asked, how much of an incentive is that for somebody to do something? And we also discussed 200. I know that the amount can vary a lot depending when you put an EV charger in your home, depending on how far it's located from the electric panel, and if you have to upgrade your panel to accommodate it. So 200 would obviously you go through money faster and might be a little bit more of an encouragement, although I still think kind of like the $500 solar rebate, it's not enough to really spur people to action, but I think it's a message by the city that we believe in this. We want to help you reduce your emissions. And it can offset some of the permitting inspection fees that you'll come across if you do a project like that. The fourth item was recommend EV and or solar ready ordinances for new construction. I know we have mentioned this to the council in the past, and we haven't really, the commission hasn't really pushed on it. But I know Richmond Heights for one, and I believe Maplewood both have EV ready ordinances, which this is not outside my area of expertise, but as I read it, it doesn't look like it's a major lift in terms of city code. And then the last one, probably the biggest lift would be to really recommend the city update its building code. And I would just say Richmond Heights, Brentwood are both on the 2018 code. We're on 2015. Clayton's on 2021. So we don't want to kind of lag our neighbors on this. So those are the policy level things that I think we can recommend to council or think about putting in that report to council. And then outreach, as I mentioned, whether it's doing things through EcoEd or separately. I know Sean, you said the page on the city's website with sustainability resources would go live in February. I think that'll be a tremendous help as we can steer people to that and talk about cultivating what we want to put on there, but program the utilities offer other resources that can help people reduce energy, water, can be related to composting, recycling, anything that we want it to. And then, there are some longer term things. We discussed what is there a potential to establish some sort of stricter than code for city-owned buildings, like a LEED style code for any new city buildings. I know that I believe the fire station, when it was built, it's not LEED, but they made it a very energy efficient building, even though they didn't go out for that certification. Clayton is a city that has a Soul Smart designation, which is sort of like a Green Dining Alliance type certification program, where if you take certain policy steps that are encouraging for the help sort of nurture people and put solar on buildings, you get the city can get a certification, and depending on how far you go, you get like a bronze, silver to gold certification. But they have a whole, their website's worth looking at to see kind of how they rank, prioritize different steps. A responsible lighting ordinance is something we might look at down the road.
We just passed that. A municipality right here in St. Louis County.
Yeah, I forget who.
Ellisville and Brentwood both have responsible lighting ordinances.
Okay. And then the last thing we talked about, and this would really take some fleshing out, but I think it does have merit, is looking at some sort of a program for income qualified energy efficiency projects, just to put sort of an equity component in our work around greenhouse gas emissions reduction. And whether that would be through a third party. We're trying to be very conscious of not putting burdens on staff and making things administratively difficult. I think it's something that's has merit to continue thinking about, thinking through how we would do something. It's not overly complicated. But again, the recommending solar on the rec center, looking at an energy audit of city buildings, adding EV charging rebates to the solar rebates, and that would use up part of the solar funding, since that's gone a little bit slowly because of the interest rate environment. EV and or solar ready ordinances and updated building codes. If anyone has any thoughts about that, feel free. Additions, subtractions. I know it's a lot. Sorry, Mary.
I just want to say thank you. I think that's a really impressive list. And my only suggestion is, well, my only comment, I guess, is, first it's a question. Is the goal to present these recommendations next to the GHG baseline study? Like, based on that baseline, these are recommendations?
Yeah, I think that would be, these grew out of, things like an EV ready ordinance. I think we wanted to just see what the greenhouse gas benchmarking report said, and then try to propose some strategies to make progress.
So if that's the case, then I just would like upvote all the ones that have the closest connection to the baseline study. Some of them sounded closer and some of them sounded further.
Yeah.
I think the baseline study was mostly about energy in our homes, 80%. So actually the biggest, it's not city buildings, it's not transportation, you know what I mean? So
Right.
that's not to say you have to go for the big enchilada, the big
Yeah.
dog there, but the ones that are, the better alignment might get the better response.
Right.
Closer alignment as you assess it.
Right.
But I don't know.
And the hard thing is the easier, the sort of lower hanging fruit, just from a
Yeah,
ease of the difficulty of getting things done is, like, we can influence, if council does something related to city buildings, it's done, versus you have to sort of convince people or incent people, that's where the outreach, I think, comes in, is trying to get public attention on people making their homes more efficient.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know we had discussion, it was Karen's idea, try to, if there's a way to incentivize people to do energy efficiency, without making it hard for the city to administer, but that.
Yeah, the low hanging fruit thing is for real.
The what?
The low hanging fruit thing, the thing you can actually get done, that's very.
One of the things that is, I'm sorry, John. The Ameren has reinstated their pay as you save program, which gives a free energy audit, and it is not income qualified. I found that out today. But they'll come in and make changes if they think that they are warranted. They'll save money on energy. They will do the changes. You pay on your bill, but they say that the savings that you gain from the measures that they implement will offset the cost on your bill. So that is something, I'm having that done in my house. They're coming tomorrow. And so once I get through that process, I'll know more about what we might be able to do to promote that.
You go Instagram live on the city's website.
But
I do. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, to that point, jokingly going Instagram live, but I wonder, so the eco ed is targeted and great, but it also relies on the people who show up. And the people who show up are often the people who are already drinking the milk, right, or the Kool-Aid, or whatever analogy you want to use, a metaphor. So we had talked at the last meeting about maybe having some sort of, I don't know if it's monthly or whatever it is, but sustainability, like, reminder or know-how, and it can be on social media, it could be on maybe not, whatever avenues that we're gonna reach a different group of people, because otherwise you're preaching to the choir, to use yet another metaphor, sorry. But that's something that I think we run into in general when it comes to sustainability measures and linking it directly, not always to this is important for the environment, which is important for all of us, but important for your pocketbook as well as for local changes, because not everybody has, I'm gonna say it as a luxury to have that as a top priority, right? Their top priority might be food on the table that week. So spreading the word, just considering ways that we can spread the word more broadly outside of, you know, these sort of events where people have to elect to show up.
Yeah, I think I totally agree. And I was just gonna say, which kind of aligns with your point is, I think it's good for us to think creatively in kind of making things fun. Like maybe we could sponsor who can reduce their energy bill by, by the most, or you have to figure out a way to, one thing I kind of go back to, I remember being on vacation years ago and I was walking down the street of the town in Maine, and they had a thing in their window, and it was a volunteer registry of people who had pledged not to use any sort of pesticide or herbicide in their yard. And it was just sort of a, I don't know, just a creative way. They had a map of the city, and they had little properties colored in. And it's just kind of a way to make people think. But I think, that might not be, just thinking outside the box.
That kind of stuff too had some support actually for improving changes in other people's yard use, because there's a few different, sorry, I'm gonna go a little academic here, but there's a few different things that influence our behaviors. And one of them is our sense for how important this is, not just to us, but to our community. And by community, I mean the community that's important to us, not just writ large. But when we start to see how many other people are doing something, that adds weight to our interpretation for how important it is. So just having signs in people's yards or maps like this that are indicating what other people are doing normalizes it. And that actually improves changes in other behaviors, conservation behaviors. So there's evidence to back up that idea that maybe it's a map, maybe it's something else.
Yeah.
But highlighting those differences in a way that's visual to people makes a difference.
Yeah, I think we saw that with the NOMO.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, good. I mean,
Get one of those signs.
there were people that hated it, but at least it got people talking about the topic, and that's like the first step in my mind. Yeah, John.
Along those lines, I think another thing we could gamify is Ripple Glass and challenge the other municipalities to say, we're going to fill up our thing before you fill up your thing. And just to get people like hustling.
Yeah.
And it'd also be a way to get her in media, because the Webster Kirkwood Times would write it up, and the Hillsborough whatchamacallit might write it up, because there's now 7 Ripple bins around the metro area.
That's something that maybe we could get students involved in as well, like, I don't know, Boy Scout groups or sustainability groups or whatever, to help sort of collect it. In collecting, yeah, exactly, or helping people who can't get their glass to Ripple for whatever reason, like maybe people who have a hard time moving their trash, or it's heavy or whatever.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were.
Yeah, no, that. And the other thing, while we're talking about it, that I think could be really cool for Webster High students, is I was looking at Google Maps, trying to find all the commercial solar arrays in Webster Groves. And what struck me is there's 5 arrays that you could like walk out of Webster High and be on the roof in like no time. Some of them are Webster University, some are Iroba. It's got a big array on top. So I was thinking that would be another way to engage people if there's a sustainability class in Webster, and they could convince a teacher and the admin to let her walk out.
I think that, that's definitely something else that, we have a lot, I think we have a lot of opportunities in outreach that we can sort of flesh out. I'm gonna move on just because we got a lot of budget on the schedule here. Earth Month plans. I think at the last meeting, I guess there was discussion about what we might want to do as a commission for Earth Month. And I'm just gonna suggest, is that something that anybody would want to lead up a subcommittee and have a small meeting on and bring something back in February? Do we want to do what do we want to do for Earth Month?
We had so many ideas. It really
Yeah,
needs
yeah.
to get pared down.
Yeah, and it might be helpful for a few people who are interested to get together and talk about that, and then bring back recommendations in February. So either raise your hand now or send an email, I guess I would say, and then I'll let that group figure out a strategy for that.
And is April Earth Month?
So yeah, we probably need to get something figured out in February so that we have time to implement whatever we do. Webster on Wheels, I think, Dave, we covered that. And
Actually, Jeff, sorry, maybe I should interject real quickly.
Yeah.
That there's $485 left in the commission's budget for this fiscal year. So, and when thinking about Earth Day month events.
right.
Just keep that in mind.
Okay.
A
and-
quick, sorry, I have a quick logistical question, Sean. If one of the things we talked about last month was changing that sign outside of City Hall, maybe each week having like a short message that would be sort of a call to action for something. What is the process for that? Is that something that we could just submit like 4 ideas and then someone would sort of make it happen?
Yeah, the public affairs manager oversees the marquee board. So that's a great idea, and also, you know, no cost for that, but and that's a great outreach idea. So yeah, if you send me the you know, the slogans, or I don't know, I might have to, you know, they probably would need to be somewhat brief. I don't know, you know, there's various events that need to be put up there, but I'd be happy to ask the public affairs manager if there's any limitations around that. That's a great idea.
Awesome, thank you.
I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, so again, anyone besides John who wants to volunteer for that, just let me know. Webster on Wheels, I think we've touched on that. Recycling outreach. Is there anything additional beyond
The city, I created over the holidays a wrapping paper holiday recycling post with information from Republic Services. We shared the Webster Kirkwood Times article. So, and then, you know, we've been pushing the holiday lights recycling drive. But in terms of just broad general recycling tips, we can come up with something for that. There hasn't been anything. I just did, since the recycling tour, I just did a holiday themed specific
Yeah.
recycling educational post. And then we shared the Webster Kirkwood Times article.
Okay.
I did submit a little mailbag letter to pile on John's letter.
Okay,
I saw
great.
that.
Just reminded folks, New Year's resolution-y kind of thing, so
Yeah.
that
yeah,
was in the
thank you.
recycling category.
That was
for
nice.
Sure.
Thanks.
Could I get one quick feel good story?
Sure.
I'm out there shoveling the snow. Woman walks by and says, "Hey, you had something about recycling. Do I put the plastic top on top of my plastic bottle before I put it in the bin?" So I told her. But anyway, that just is like random people actually read it, and
And what'd you tell her?
I said you put it on because it catches the wind. because I was at store.
Okay, Eco Ed, is there any, do you want to provide any updates?
Absolutely. The first one is March 5th, which is coming right up. I have, we talked about doing that on composting. Anna and Sean had a great idea to talk with Rose Wigglers. And I have done that. She is available. Ro is available. And on that day, and is willing to come and do a hands-on vermicomposting workshop.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
And it will cost $75 for an hour, for her to come for an hour. I think she would probably be there more than an hour. Would probably be an hour and a half. She can also bring materials for up to 10 people to build their own bins at a cost of $30 each. And she can set up in advance on Eventbrite an event that people could purchase those in advance if someone was interested in doing their own vermicomposting bin. That's March, and what I need from the commission is an okay to spend some money to do this and to know whether or not you think this is going to work out for an Eco Ed. That's first, and then the rest of the Eco Eds come after that.
Where would this be held?
We could still do it at the library. She says it's not, Ro says it's not that much of a mess,
Okay.
and we can put down tarps if we want to. Or we could do it somewhere else as well, but the library is already reserved and it's easy.
Yeah, I guess, for the commission, we have said 475,
We're 85.
485,
Mhm.
and then this would be over $100.
I think it would be really nice to have a door prize of a bin. Although I don't know if somebody who won it would necessarily want it. Some kind of door prize.
Well, I mean, people who are interested in it could submit their names or get a ticket. It
True.
doesn't have to be every participant or
That's
every.
true.
So what is the total, I guess, we would want to use from the budget?
Well, if it was, let's see, if you say half of 75 was about 40, that's 115, and 30 is 145, right? For one bin and per time for an hour and a half.
I mean, I don't know what we had in mind for Earth Month. I would doubt that we would use all of 485 for Earth Month. So, that would be getting in April and March. So,
Well, that was the intent, is to have an area.
Yeah.
So. This means that.
right. All right. Yeah, John.
And I'm fine with that. But what I'd say is for the other eco ed things, I think we want to align them with our greenhouse gas goals. So EV, solar, energy efficiency codes, those sorts of things, so that we're using that platform in a way that's sort of builds that echo chain.
Yeah, I mean, I think Eco Ed though I think we can be very broad. I mean, everything to some extent is going to, even composting is going to be related to greenhouse gas. It's not related to energy, but I think the idea for Eco Ed, since we're sponsoring it with Green Space, was maybe do something related to energy efficiency or something very specifically looking at our work on greenhouse gas. But I don't want to limit all of sustainability just to greenhouse gas emissions.
And I have another, we already have some ideas for Eco Ed also that you may or may not like. But, so that's the first one. So are we okay with $115?
145?
140, whatever it was.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think it's something we need to vote on unless, I mean, anyone wants to.
Okay. Green Spaces have two that they've already committed to. One is Arbor Day in May, and another one is the Brentwood Watershed in September. That leaves us, they also agreed to do April. Thank them. And so we have June and October to do.
Okay.
We have talked a couple of times about doing a Green Dining Alliance, sort of eco-ed, something that might be more hands-on or walking or meeting somewhere besides the library, beside the library. So that would be one, and the other is up for, I'm the only one of us on that subcommittee, and so I have to rely on you guys to come up with that.
The St. Louis County Oops Tag group said that, this is just reminding me, sorry, that they would be happy to do some sort of recycling event with us, educational event. So if, you know, if there's interest in doing a recycling themed eco-ed, they could possibly be our subject matter experts, and we could reach out to other people too, but.
And I also wanted just to mention, you know, we sort of committed to do to come up with ideas and try to host 3 of the eco ed, and then Green Space does 3. But, you know, depending on budget constraints, we're not limited. I mean, the more outreach we can do, the better, in my view, especially if we want to do something around, you know, promoting solar or energy efficiency or EVs. One of the things I thought that would be kind of fun to do and really take, you know, very little money, maybe $25, $30, is get a big thing of coffee and donuts and have a EV Q&A out at the city parking lot where the charger is, and anyone who drives an EV, we could find people, if there aren't people on the commission, to go out there and just have kind of an open house for anyone who's interested, who has questions on. I know when I bought one, I was like, you know, I didn't know the first thing about installing something at my house. How much would it cost? What to look for, and just owning, charging EVs. All these questions, you know, you see things in the news and people have questions, and it's kind of a big leap to take if you don't own one. So I thought that would be a good education thing to do, and it's a way to promote what the city's doing on EVs as well. But that's an example of something that very little budget, take a little time and a few volunteers, but you know, the more of that, I think we could do better.
We could call it an EV cruising.
I was trying to resist calling the Oops Tag thing dumpster diving, so I won't even go. Okay, I'm gonna move on. I think that's fine. That sounds good on that.
Okay,
That March eco ed.
so the March one, yeah, we need, it would be good if we could get the series sort of. I know that we're run on time, but why don't I work on this kind of offline and email with you guys? Is that okay to do that, since it's just the subject of?
In one idea, get somebody from me to come and talk about why building codes are critical climate strategy.
Yeah.
Because they fly somebody in there and they heartbeat. You know, to do it, and it wouldn't cost us anything.
Yeah.
And that could be both relevant to all the stuff happening with Prop Y and all the construction that's happening there, plus updating the building code, the standard residential and commercial code.
Yeah, that's.
I wonder how many takers we could get on that.
Probably as many as you get on the greenhouse gas thing. It could be the climate nerds, but it's Webster. We got a lot of climate nerds we can go around.
What's the name of that consulting group again?
MIA, Midwest Energy Efficiency Alliance. They are the bosses of energy efficient buildings. So for example, last time we got a good code out of St. Louis County, it was MIA, that was the technical support. They do tech support for the frontline people who are pushing for better code.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna move on. Is if we button that last one down in our February meeting, that,
Yeah, that should, yeah.
and we do meet a week early, we, not skipping too far ahead, but we meet February 10th. Composting, so beyond EcoEd, are there any next steps to take, in view of the grant?
Not at this time.
Okay. Now the big time consuming thing of the next meeting is going to be, really going through. So we have the greenhouse gas, action steps, we're going to, recommendations to council, whatever we want to include in our plans for the next 12 months, to council, be thinking of ideas. I mean, there are things that we do on an annual basis, like EcoEd, Pump and Smash, Holiday Light recycling. But in terms of new initiatives, and I know, Councilmember Bliss left, but we don't want to make it too expansive, and council wants us, generally, they like to have us pretty focused on a few things, and preferably things that don't cost a lot of money and take a lot of staff time. But I want us to think, and I want us to have time to have a little more discussion in February around what we want to put in that report for our priorities. And then lastly, so I term out in April. So I just wanted to plant the seed of start thinking about transition, because every time we've gone through transition on this commission that I've been here, it's like somebody just sort of abruptly decides to resign, and it takes us 3 months to figure out who's going to be in charge, and we just kind of spin our wheels for a while. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm happy to stick around, but my one thing in being on this commission that just continually amazes me in a really good way is how many smart, dedicated people with a lot of expertise in different areas Webster has on sustainability. It's like, why haven't all of you been here on this commission in the past? So, I was just mentioning, I'm up in April.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start sort of the discussion, be thinking about commission leadership moving forward. So
Okay.
it's not just guess what? Jeff's not here this week. Yes, Mary.
Is the commission filled out? Do we have any other slots open
We
right
are
now?
totally full, I believe, as of right now.
Yeah, and
Okay,
we actually kind of have someone in the queue for the next vacancy, so.
and you would typically pick your replacement from the sitting members, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just, I
Just
mean,
wondered how it works.
Jeff, how many terms have you been on this year?
this is it. I mean, I my first one was a partial
Okay,
term, but yeah.
just curious how many
yeah,
you've done it, how many times you've done it, so.
yeah, just flown by. I think it's
Appreciate it.
good
You've
to
been
like
around the
have,
whole time I have, so that's one reason why I was asking.
yeah.
Yeah,
Been through multiple iterations. This is my second try at the Green Dining Alliance.
okay,
When Sean was speaking, I was remembering like we tried to get this going, and this was before COVID. And
yeah,
we assigned every commission member a restaurant to call or two to try to like drum up business.
yeah,
And there were some, but others were just like, sorry, we're just
not
not
interested.
interested. So anyway, with that, I know we've gone longer than we usually do. Our next meeting is February 10th. I think that was moved up because of the holiday by 1 week. So hopefully no one has conflicts. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Second,
Second.
favor? All right. See you guys next month. Cool.